Also, you'll notice on your notes that you can look up any of the things I've just covered in the book. Everything's all good as well. Let's jump back into Photoshop. So once you're in your preferences, you can change up the way it looks, the way it performs, different things as well. And that's under the Photoshop drop-down menu. I'll just say, okay, we'll keep it up like this. The main thing that Photoshop is best known for is called non-destructive editing. So think about this. If you have an image and you want to be able to change it up, Photoshop's known for being able to move things around, distort things, add things to different images. You want to be able to edit it, and later on you want to be able to re-edit it. If you're working as a graphic designer, often you'll need to take the same thing over and over again and be able to re-edit it. A lot of times people will change their mind, or they'll want to see a variety of options. So in Photoshop, they give you the options to do what's called non-destructive editing. And let me show you what this means. Let's see, I got a digital edition of the photo. I'll open up a couple of images from today. Let's open up Kid Rock. So I've got this picture of a little girl playing the guitar. If I wanted to change this image in some way, let's say I wanted to draw on top of her. If it was a normal image, I can grab my paintbrush. Let's say I wanted to draw, I don't know, a mustache that was on top of her. Remember, in Photoshop, it's raster based, so what I've done is I've changed up those pixels. If I was to save this image, well, all those pixels that were below her have just been changed to black. So if I needed to undo it, well, there's no good way of undoing it. Now, I know there's a history palette and stuff we'll get into a little bit later. But once I've saved this image, there's no way of going back. I've completely destroyed the image that I'm working with. It's a very destructive way. Same way if I wanted to choose my eraser tool and erase out the background and do something with it. I'm getting rid of those pixels altogether. Well, if you're a professional graphic designer, you want to be able to work smartly and be able to change it up in a way that if you needed to later, you'll be able to come back and undo the changes you've done or make different changes without having to recreate the image altogether. So Photoshop gives you a couple of ways of doing non-destructive type of editing. The first way is it works in layers. I'm going to completely close this out and not save my image. Let's open it back up again. One of the most important palettes that you should have open in Photoshop is your Layers palette. This is going to tell you what you're working on in the image itself. Whenever you open up a picture, there will always be a background layer by default. The background layer is usually the main image that you're working on. You can see it gives you a little preview of what's on that layer itself. So you see the little girl playing the guitar. The background layer is your main default layer. If I wanted to add on to this image, Photoshop allows me to add more layers on top of this, and so I can work on a different layer and not have to work within the background layer by itself. To add a layer to Photoshop, there's a bunch of different ways we can do this. I'm going to drag this off so we can see both of them at the same time. To add a layer, if you're in your Layers palette, if you look at the very bottom right-hand corner of the palette itself, you can click on this icon to create a new layer. And when I do that, you can see now I've got another layer on top of it. Now I can choose between which layer I want to work on by clicking on either layer 1 or the background layer. As long as it's highlighted, that's the one that I'm working on. So now if I was to go back over to my tool palette, I'm going to grab my paintbrush and draw something that's on her. Well, I've drawn those over those pixels, but I'm working in a layer that's on top of it. So if I needed to, I could grab my eraser and erase away what I've created, and I haven't harmed the original image that's below it. This is kind of the essence of non-destructive. I haven't destroyed that picture that's below it in itself. So when working in Photoshop, the most professional way of working is to do it non-destructively. I can tell the difference between an amateur's photograph or a created document and a professional's created document based on how I can look at their layers. I can see what they're using and how they're doing different things within their Photoshop documents to let me know that they're actually thinking about and caring about the work that they're working on. So as you work in here, I'm going to teach you how to do it non-destructively, and hopefully that'll save you a lot in the long run. So the first thing, you can create a new layer by clicking on the little layers icon. There's also a couple of different ways you can make a layer. If you go up to your layer drop-down menu, you can choose new, and here's a layer up here as well. In Photoshop, there's a couple of different types of layers. We'll get into groups, we'll get into type layers and fill layers and those type of things. But you can go to layer and new, choose new layer. So now if you look in our, it'll give you a pop-up dialog box. And in this case, you can give your layer a specific name. Instead of calling it layer 2, if I wanted to call it mustache, I can even give it a specific color. Let's call it yellow, and I'll say OK. So now I can quickly find within my layers palette, there's where the mustache will be. It's got a particular layer, and I can draw on that layer as well. The more layers you have, the better it is to be able to work on an image, because you can add multiple things and be able to, let's say I wanted to erase out just one layer of the mustache. Since I drew that on layer 1, let's get my eraser. I can erase just one area of it, and I don't have to worry about undoing the rest of it. Or I can choose the other layer and just erase out that layer. And it's not going to affect any of the other layers working on there as well. The main thing to remember in working in Photoshop is you've got to remember what layer you're working on. You may think you're working on one layer and you start erasing out something and it's not working. Oh, it's probably because you're on a different layer than you should be working on. So always have the layers palette open whenever you need to work and do something, and click on the layer that you want to affect. Any questions so far? Easy breezy? Okay. So let's see. Here's another great example of working within layers and working within two different documents. I'm going to close this one out. We won't even save it. If you go to open up two different images, by the way, if you want to open up an image really quickly, you can select, let's say I wanted to open Kid Rock and the guitar pick. I've got them both selected. I'm going to drag their icons into the Photoshop icon. When I release, Photoshop is going to dock, usually by default, both of the images together. Notice I only have one particular window. If you go up to the far left-hand top side of that window, you can choose between this image and this image. And you can move this window around, resize it, and such. If you want both of the images to be opened in two different windows, click on the name of it and drag it off, and this will undock that particular image by itself. So now I've got two different images working on two different layers. If I needed to copy one image into another image, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the quickest way to be able to merge one document into another document. One of the workhorse tools of Photoshop is called your Move tool. Move tool will allow you to move different types of objects around within a layer or within a document. It looks like a black arrow, and the keyboard shortcut for it is the letter V. Notice when you hover over it, just like in Illustrator, you get the name of the tool, and usually in parentheses there will be a, let's see if it'll do it again. Come on. There we go. There'll be a letter that's your keyboard shortcut to be able to quickly select it. So if I wanted to add this guitar pick image to the Kid Rock photograph, notice I'm working in layer 1. I can click on the image and drag it. You can see it's being moved around. When I drag it on top of this image, hopefully it'll work. Oh boy, it didn't work. Ah, I know why. Tell you what, let me open up another image. It's got a little different feel to it. Let's open up the smiley face. Hopefully the smiley face will work. Yeah, let's do that one. I'll get into why why that didn't actually drag over. But if I click the smiley face, drag it over, I've now added it to the Kid Rock image by itself. If you'll look in your layers palette, that smiley face, look real close, it's got a small picture of it within layer 1. So it's now working within layer 1. And I can move it around as long as I'm within that one particular layer by itself. So a great way to quickly move images from one mode or one document to another is to use your Move tool, click on the image, drag it over into this one. Now I've got another copy of it as well. Every time you drag something over, it will always create a new layer in which you're working on. So now I've got two different layers with it on top of it as well. Let me show you why that particular image, that guitar pick, didn't translate over to another one. When you work within Photoshop, there's different types of color modes that you're working in. Y'all remember the difference between CMYK and RGB? What was RGB? When are those graphics used?
For the web.
For the web mainly. If anything's being displayed on a computer screen, some sort of projected image, RGB is what you want to be working with. What does CMYK stand for? Why is it used? Yeah, it's for the printer. So if you're going to get something printed off, you need to work within the CMYK mode. In Photoshop, you can work between and swap between two different printing modes by going up to Image, and here's a drop-down menu for the different modes to work in. So right now you can see I'm working in RGB mode. I can easily select any other mode to work within, and there's a bunch of different types of modes that all do little different things, but there's CMYK. Let me open up that guitar image again. So here's also the smiley face. And we'll go up to Image and Mode. Notice I'm working in RGB mode. Now if I was to open the guitar pick, there it is again. This guitar pick is a different file format. First of all, if you look at the name of it, it's .png. This is a portable network graphic. If I was to go to Image and Mode, its image mode is under indexed color. It's using a different set of color algorithms to save this particular image that's different from RGB. So if I was trying to drag an image that's indexed color into an RGB color, it's not going to work. It's going to give you an error. It's just not going to work whatsoever. So if I was to try to drag this image into here, that's why nothing happened that one time. However, since this image, the smiley face, was an RGB image, I can click and drag it into here, and it worked out just fine that way. They're both compatible with one another. RGB and CMYK type images are both compatible with each other, and it should give you no problems. But indexed colors, they're not compatible. But I will show you how to make them compatible if you ever face this type of problem. So I've got my guitar pick. Remember the guitar pick? Its image mode is index color. All I've got to do is choose RGB. Sometimes it'll give you a little error message, but it's now changed everything that's in there to RGB mode. So now when I try to drag this image over into an RGB image, now it'll add that image to there as well. Just that simple. That's a common problem that a lot of people tend to face because they don't know, hey, what color mode am I working in? Well, by knowing the color mode, you'll be able to quickly add and change up the type of images that you're working with as well. Any questions about that? All good? Fantastic.
So if it's a PNG, most likely you'll have to change it.
Most likely you'll have to change it, yeah. The upside to using PNG or GIFs or those type of things, they're used for web graphics. They're very, very small. And so if you want to put them online and have people be able to download them, then that's why you would use a PNG graphic. Index layer mode, literally it's going to index, it's going to catalog all the colors that you're just using for that image. RGB is going to catalog every possible combination of that color. And that's why RGB images are usually, they take up a lot more memory. Index takes up a lot less memory. Good question. And we'll get into some different type of color modes working from that as well. All right, let's see. Kind of moving down my list, make sure I have everything covered from there. Since we're creating different layers that you're working with, let's go over how you can delete several different layers. So I've created this guitar pick, and the guitar pick is working on layer 4. I can move it around. Notice that when I move it around, it may be hard for y'all to see. The little image preview will also change up as well. If you ever need to delete a layer, first of all, select the layer that you have, go down to the very bottom right-hand side of the layers palette, and choose the little trash can icon. This will delete it and also give you a little, are you sure you want to do that? You can say yes. And now that layer is completely deleted away as well. Same way for any of these other smiley faces. Aha! Here's another little problem that tends to run into. Let's say I wanted to select just this smiley face. I've got my move tool selected. When I click and drag, why is it moving that one?
Wrong layer.
It's the wrong layer. Aha. You got to make sure you're working within the correct layer. So let's see, layer 2, nope, layer 1, that's the one that I'm working on. I'm using the move tool, and even though I'm not clicking on the object itself, I'm clicking off into an open area. No matter where I click and move, that's the one that it's going to move to. I'll show you all a neat little trick that works just with the move tool. When you've got the move tool selected, go up to the tool options. There's an option called auto select. With it selected, it'll automatically select whatever picture, the layer or whatever pixel you've clicked on. And you can work within groups or layers. For now, I'll just set it to layers. They'll do the same thing. But with auto select turned on, remember now I'm working in layer 1, which is this one. But if I was to click on this one, watch the layers, watch what will happen within the layers. It'll automatically jump to that particular layer. So this is a great way to quickly select different layers if you have multiple things on them. And it will move between each one from there.
Where is it located?
It's at the very top left-hand corner. When you have your move tool selected, it's in the tool options box. It's called auto select. When you have that checked off, that's what it'll do. If you have it unchecked, then whatever layer you're working on, it's just going to work within that layer. So it's kind of a handy tool to make sure that you have checked or unchecked as well.
Will it also do the locked layer?
It will. If I clicked on the background, well, it's not going to select the background layer because the background layer is locked, like you said. Notice there's a little lock icon. Locked layers mean you can't change its position of it or the opacity of it. So if I was trying to move it around now, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to kind of select over different things as well. Good question. If I did want to select multiple layers, like let's say I wanted this smiley face and this smiley face to move at the same time, just like selecting multiple objects in Illustrator, you can hold down your Shift key. So I've got layer 1, holding down Shift. Now I've got layer 3, both of those are highlighted, and they can move together at the same time as well. We'll do a little more advanced things with selections in a couple of more lessons from there. But back to what I was really wanting to get to show you, how to delete layers. So you've got, let's say, layer 1 selected. Remember, you can click on the little trash can icon and delete it. Another faster way is if I wanted to select layer 1 and 2, I'm going to click and drag both of those down to the trash can. It'll automatically delete them, and it won't ask me, are you sure you want to do that type of thing as well. So that's a great way of clicking, deleting, and adding different types of layers to what you're working on. Any questions? All good? All right, I'll tell you what, we'll jump into working on the different exercises. How many of y'all don't have your book with you today? You might not have your book? All right. Okay, I'm going to let you pack up and take this time to go get a book.
I went to the bookstore and they don't have it.
They don't have any more?
They only had like a few started with.
Okay. I'll let you pass for this one. Can you look on with someone else? All right. Somebody let Edward borrow your book while you're working on this. Try to have a book. I'll contact them and make sure that they have some more by the next time, because you're definitely going to be needing these and using these. Huh? Okay. Order them online? Yeah. You can generally get them a little bit cheaper. Okay. If you'll go to today's Moodle page, you'll need to download the exercise instructions for January 15th. I'll click on it and open it up. Each of these exercises will go through exactly what you need to do to work within the different things. And so we're using the Move tool, for instance, to create a variety of different layer modes. We're going to play around with the layer modes. So let me work this one with you and show you what we'll work on from that one. That sentence made no sense, what I just said. So for layer 1, or exercise 1, you'll need the smiley face, the pool JPEG, and also the layer modes JPEG. Remember, if you want to open up multiple images, so let's see, I need smiley face, the pool, and layer modes. I've got all 3 of those selected. You can click and drag it into Photoshop. There it is. And it'll open up all 3 together. When you do this, you'll need to undock each of the images so that you can easily see what they look like and be able to drag between each different one of them. The main image you're going to be working on is this layer modes image. You'll see it gives you an example of how I want it to be laid out, and you'll see the different words. These are different layer modes we'll be able to choose from this. Essentially, what you're going to do, is you're going to drag over the smiley face. So I've got my move tool selected. Remember, move tool, all it does is allow you to move. We're going to drag over the smiley face onto this one, and we're going to place a copy of the smiley face underneath each different word. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to make some copies of the smiley face. Rather than having to go back to this JPEG, drag it back over. Undo that. Drag it back over and go back and forth to make a copy. A quick way to make a copy with the move tool is if you'll hold down your option key. I'm going to zoom in. Holding down the option key will give you your double arrow. So when I click and drag, it'll quickly make a copy of that image that you're working in. So if I wanted to make 4 different copies, holding down the arrow key or the option key, another copy of it as well. Very, very simple. Any questions about that? If I wanted to select all 5 of these, what do?
Hold your shift key.
Hold the shift key. So I've got this one. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click on all 5 of those. With all 5 of them selected, I can hold down my option key, click and drag, and now I can copy 5 at a time. So this is a quick way of quickly selecting and copying the different ones. So now I've very quickly, very easily added, let's see, goodness, 30 different images of the smiley face. How do you delete a layer? There you go. Click on the image. You can go to your layer and click the trash can and delete it. And you brought up a good point, Penny. If you click on an image by itself, you can actually hit the delete key and it will delete that layer automatically. I usually stay away from the delete key because I accidentally delete a lot of stuff as well. Once you've got a copy of each smiley face, you're going to also want to copy the image of the pool on top of it and put it on the right side of the smiley face, as you can see in the example at the top. So I've got my pool image opened up. You can see it's very, very, very small. I'm going to click and drag it over. I'm going to just place it on top of each different one. I'm going to make a copy on top of that one as well. Let's see how fast I can go. Holding down my option key, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. So as long as the option key is held down with your move tool, I'm going to use my shift key to select multiple layers. So I've selected all 5 of those, and now with my option key I can click and drag and continuously use that as well. Of course I need to delete out this one and also this one. Have I lost anybody? Okay, don't worry, I'll definitely help you if you need more help as well. Now what we're going to do is show examples of the different layer modes that you can work in. What do I mean by layer mode? Within Photoshop, Photoshop allows you to blend pixels that are within one layer and another layer. By default, the normal way of blending 2 different pixels is simply covering them up. So whatever's on one layer is going to cover up the pixels on a layer below it. But if you needed to, you can actually blend them together by, really it's using math, using different algorithms to do this. So I'm going to choose my move tool. In this case, I want to affect the pixels that are on this smiley face and the pool that's on top of it. Let me drag over my layers palette. Since I've got auto select on, I'm going to click on this image of the pool, and it'll automatically jump to that particular layer. There it is, layer 3. To change the layer blending mode, if you'll look at the very top towards the left-hand side of the screen, right now it's working in normal. If you click and hold, you've got all different types of layer blending modes. You can work with them. And these are all different algorithms that tend to blend the numbers that are found within those pixels, the values between each of the pixel. So for this one, let's choose darken. And so now it's blending the pixels together that are the blue and the yellow, so you get kind of this dark green type blend working together from that one as well. And this is what you're going to do for each different one. So for multiply, I'm going to click on the layer 3 copy, this layer. I'm going to go to change it from normal down to multiply. And it looks pretty much the same as darken did. Let's see what color burn does. Remember, select the layer you need to work on. So I've clicked on that one. Let's jump to this one. Color burn is next. Aha, color burn is going to give you something drastically different. Each algorithm will give you something really different, almost unexpected. In general, if you'll click on each of these different types of layer blending, these top ones will make two different colors darker. They'll blend them together and they'll look for the darker pixels within them. These middle ones, these are going to, these are going to affect just your lighter color pixels. So screen and lighten and color dodge will lighten up two different images based on the pixels. These middle ones are going to affect the midtones of an image. So if you want to get something that's mostly gray and you want to be able to lighten it up or just work within the middle hues and the middle values of it, overlay and soft light, linear light, those will affect the midtones of different colors you're working with. The ones at the bottom, these will give you really different results. These are going to subtract away. These will give you almost a negative type look for an image. And these bottom ones will affect just the colors of them and not have to, and the saturation of it, and not really worry about the lightness and darkness of it. Tell you what, let's, I'll scroll down. Let's look at difference. I'm going to choose this one. Show you exactly what I mean. When you choose difference, it's going to turn it completely black. It's going to give you the negative value of whatever was below it, those type of pixels. And so this is what the essence of working in Photoshop different layers allows you to do. Things that are on one layer will affect layers that are below it. And you can adjust and be able to correct things on a particular layer without having to bother any of the other layers if you needed to erase or to change up those particular images as well. So that's the basics of using this first different exercise. There's another exercise. There's 3 different exercises for today. You're going to open each of these up, copy them onto this image, and then change up their layer modes. Very, very simple. The last thing you'll need to do is to be able to, quote, flatten this image. Once you're done, if I was to save this image, let's see just for the heck of it, see what size file this would be. If you ever need to save a file in Photoshop, you can always go to File, down to either Save or Save As. I'll just choose Save As. Since it has multiple different layers on it, by default, the format you're going to save it is Photoshop. And I'm just going to save it as a regular Photoshop file. Layer modes PSD. And I'll say Save. And it's going to say, do you sure you want to do this? We'll say OK. Let's look at the file size for that image that I just saved. There it is. Layer modes.psd. See if I can get it to show the file size. It's 1.9 megabytes. It's nearly 2 megabytes big. The reason why it's so huge is because there's so many different layers that are associated with that one image. What I want to do is I want to be able to flatten all of these images. And once you get all of these done, it'll look drastically different. You can actually look on page 281 of your book and see an idea of what it will look like. But if I was to get rid of all of these different layers and put them into one solid layer, let's see how different the file size is going to be. To flatten an image, you can always go to Layer and down to, usually at the bottom, there it is, Flatten Image. Now if you look at my layers palette, aha, I've gotten just one background layer and they're all on that one layer. Let's see what happens if I was to save this image now as a Photoshop document. I'm just going to go to File and Save. We'll go back to this one. It's now 1.2 megabytes. So I've lost nearly half a megabyte for the entire image by itself. Now keep in mind, this is a Photoshop file. Let's see what happens if I was to change its format and save it as, in this case, we're going to save it as a TIFF file. Maybe it'll be a little smaller. If you do need to change the format that you're working with, you can go to File and Save As. This will save a copy of it. This will bring up your Save As dialog box. To choose a different format, instead of Photoshop, I can click and scroll down. There's TIFF. And we'll hit Save. And it's going to say, give me some options for it. I'll just say OK to those. Let's see if I can find this one. Here's Layer Modes TIFF. Oh, wow. The TIFF is actually larger in megabyte size than the Photoshop file was. It's nearly double the size of it. let's save it as a JPEG. JPEG is one of those things you'll upload it to the internet if I wanted to. So File, Save As. There's my JPEG option. Remember, this is all under Format. When you hit Save, it's going to ask me to replace it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to rename it so I don't replace it. Call it Layer Modes 2. JPEG, hit Save. Usually when you hit Save, it's going to give you some more options to choose from. And by default, I just say OK. You can do the same thing when you save your images as well. So here's Layer Modes 2 JPEG. That JPEG is the smallest of them all. It's 1 megabyte. So depending on the type of file that you're using, a TIFF file usually saves a lot of information with it, a lot more than a Photoshop file does, but it has all those layers to it. But the JPEG itself is only 1 megabyte. It's the smallest to do that. And that's how you can save multiple different versions of it. Any questions about how to flatten an image? Remember, if I do go too fast, I'm listing the page numbers in the exercise files to be able to change those out as well. Let me show you the second exercise that we'll go through for today. We'll close all of these out. Remember, you can always hit the red X to close out any of the images. For the second page of the exercise file, we're going to change up what's called the layer styles of an image. And the two images you're going to need are the guitar pick and the layer styles JPEG as well. This one's going to look similar to the layer modes, but it's going to be different. So I've got layer styles and the guitar pick, PNG. Drag open both of those. As with the rest of them, you're going to make a copy of the guitar pick underneath each of the words on your layer styles JPEG. So I've got my move tool. If I click and drag it over, uh-oh, it's not working. What do I need to do? What's that?
Change the color mode.
Change the color mode. So to change the color mode, you can always go to Image, Mode. Notice that it's indexed, so we're going to change it to RGB. Now I can drag it over and it'll work just fine. What's my keyboard shortcut to make multiple copies real quick? Option. And Shift to select them. So I've shift and clicked on each of the layers. And make a quick copy of those as well. Remember, if you want to delete it, I'm going to just click on this one, hit my delete key, and that one's gone out of the way as well. The layer styles is a very fun thing to play around with. It's a great way to quickly add effects to the different things you're working with. An amateur mistake, however, is to start adding a bunch of different effects and filters to your Photoshop document without the need for them. I'll get into that a little bit later when we start talking about the design principles when using Photoshop. But if you wanted to add different type of layer effects to Photoshop, it's actually quite simple to do. I've listed out the different names of an effect within Photoshop. So for this first one that we're going to work on, we're going to add a drop shadow to this particular layer. And we'll click on it. So I've got it selected. Notice it dropped down to my layer 1. To add a layer effect, if you look at the very, very bottom, going slow, very bottom of your layers palette, there's a small icon that has FX on it. By clicking on it, it'll give you a drop-down menu, and these are all the different types of effects you can add to that particular layer. And here's drop shadow down at the very bottom. If I was to click on it, it'll give me my pop-up dialog box. This box will allow you to adjust any of the styles that you've applied to that one particular layer. It won't affect any of the other ones, just this one particular layer. Notice on the far left-hand side of the styles dialog box, you've got them all listed. You've got a checkbox, and with it highlighted, I've got the different options that allows me to control this within here. What I want you to do is I want you to play around and see what the different controls will allow you to do. Adjusting the opacity, the distance, spread. If I was to click on the name of any other one, let's say drop shadow or satin or color overlay, notice that it's giving me a checkbox, and it's also going to start to apply that. I don't want to be able to do that, so make sure these are unchecked. You don't accidentally click on the name of it. For now, we're just going to work in drop shadow. To play around with these different things, you can easily just drag the sliders. Notice that when I drop the opacity, it's going to drop the opacity or raise the opacity of the drop shadow. You can change up the angle that it's going to be at, the distance that it'll be away from that particular, or even the size and how wide it will be. The main thing is I want you to work within these different layer styles, play around and see what they do, get an idea of what they look like. Once you've set on a particular layer style, you can hit the OK button, and it'll be locked into that particular layer. You can move it around and that style will always follow whatever is on that layer.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you go back and change to the original preference without, like, saying undo or something like that?
Change to the original preference.
Yeah, the original Photoshop preferences, how it does the angle at 20% or, the angle or the distance.
Oh, the default of it?
Yes.
Good question. Let's see. If you ever want to edit any of the effects that you've applied, look at your layers palette now. Below it, it'll list out any effects that you have. So if I was to double click on the name Drop Shadow, it'll bring back up my layers style by itself. Let's see. I think this is what you want. You can reset it to the default. So if you ever need to reset it again, good question. You can hit reset to default. And aha, it's popped these back to 75.5, back to the original from there.
Thank you.
Good question. So you've got that reset to default down at the bottom. And I'll say OK. What you're going to do is you're going to apply the different layer styles to each one. So for this particular one, you got an inner shadow. Let's select this layer. So there's layer 1 copy. Remember to add an effect. Look for the little FX button. We're going to choose, where is it? Inner shadow. This will again bring up your layer styles dialog box. Let's see what it looks like. This is going to apply a inside shadow. It almost looks like it's cut out from whatever is around it. And you can adjust the size of it as well. And like I was showing Penny, if you need to reset it, you've got to reset to default right down at the bottom. That'll pop it back to its normal state. We'll say OK. What you're going to do for this exercise is apply the different layer styles to this entire image, and to give you an example of what it would be for each layer style. Also, while we're on the topic of deleting things, if you ever need to erase an effect or turn off an effect, you can always click on the eyeball icon next to it. So if I was to click on this inner shadow eyeball icon, it's turned it off. It's still on there, but if I was to go up here, you can see now it's not on there. So I can turn it on and off quickly. If I need to erase it, just click on the name inner shadow, drag it down to your trash can, and that effect is completely erased away from there as well. Any questions about that? Just like the other ones, you're going to flatten this and you're going to save it as a JPEG. So if you need to flatten it, you can always go to Layer, whoop, and down at the very bottom, there's Flatten Image. Also, let me show you another quick thing. And rather than going up to the Layers palette, many of the options that are found within Layer, if you'll look in the actual Layers window palette, at the very top right-hand side, there's a drop-down menu. This will give you much of the same options that are up there, so you don't always have to drag your mouse to the very top of your screen. And there's Flatten Image. You can choose it from right there. So it's a quick way of flattening the image in 2 different locations. For this very last one, this is going to be the most advanced one. We'll see how well y'all can pay attention for this one. You're going to need your book for it. It's on page 88 and 89. You're going to use the Kid Rock image to be able to work on it. So I'm going to open up Kid Rock. For her, you're going to have to add, I want to be able to erase away the right side of this image, and I want to add some text to it. Now remember, we're working non-destructively, so if I was to just grab my eraser tool, I don't want to erase away all the pixels here. I want to be able to add something on a different layer and change it up. So what they're going to have you do is open up the image and create a new layer on top of it. See how well y'all are paying attention. How do I create a new layer? Yep, little icon down at the very bottom. I believe if you hit Command N, no, I'm sorry, that's not going to be it. Shift Command N? Hey, great job. Shift Command N will also give you the new layer dialog box. You can create one from there. Thank you for that. I'm going to delete that layer. So you're going to create a new layer on top of it. And instead of painting in the pixels, it's going to ask you to use your gradient tool. I'm going to kind of take a leap of faith that y'all understand how to use the gradient tool, since it kind of works the same way as in Illustrator. But you could find your gradient tool on the far and towards the middle of your toolbox. It looks like the gradient. With it selected, it's going to ask you to change your foreground color chip to white. Just as in Illustrator, you've got your color pickers down at the very bottom of your toolbox. The foreground color chip is this one right here, and by default it's usually black. To choose a different color chip, you can click on it, and it'll bring out your color picker. And the color picker works the same as in Illustrator and all the other ones. So you just choose the color white and we'll say OK. Now if I was to just use the gradient tool right now, I can click and drag over here and it's going to turn it all white. Well, what I need to do is to choose, I want it to go from white to a transparent. I want to be able to see behind this. So I've got white selected. If you look up in the very top of your tool options, this is where you can choose different types of gradients to choose from. This second one, notice that it's going from white to this checkerboard pattern. Whenever you see a checkerboard pattern, that usually means transparent. And that's what I want to choose. So I'm going to choose white to transparent. Now watch what will happen when I apply this to there. I've got my gradient tool. I'm going to click and drag. And aha, it's going from white to transparent. I'm going to undo that by, you can always undo by edit and undo, back up. So I want to click on the right hand side and drag over. And I can add the gradient from there. Let's bring it up to that one, just like that. So I can click and drag. Wherever I click and drag to, it's going to undo or erase away those type of pixels. But keep in mind, I'm only on layer 1. So if I wanted to completely get rid of that and start over, I don't have to undo anything. I haven't lost anything. And that's how you can add the pixels from there. Have I lost anybody on the gradient tool? It's a real easy one. I knew y'all would be able to pick it up. If you do have any problems, just call me and let me know. The last thing you're going to do is add some text to this particular document. When you choose your text tool, guess which one's the text tool? The T. All right. The text tool works the same way as in Illustrator and a little bit the same way as in InDesign. When you click once, you'll have a blinking cursor that you can work with. And if you look at the very top, you've got all the different fonts you can work with, the different styles, the size of it, and your alignment. And this particular swatch right here is your text color. Instead of Myriad Pro, let's choose something cool. Rosewood STD. And I'm going to change my text color. Let's make it bright red and say OK. And you're going to type in, I'll zoom out, I wanna be a rock star. Also with your text tool, you can highlight your text and be able to change it. So if I wanted to change up whatever font I'm working with, I can do that at this time. And I could change up the size of it as well. Got the size at the very top up here. Let's see what a good size of it is. 48. Oh, that's too big. 30 is looking good. Let's give it one lower, 24. That'll work out for now. Notice that it's a little too tall, high at the top. Remember, if you want to move anything around, you've got your Move tool, and you can click on it and drag it into position however you want. Last thing I want to show you, if you'll look in your Layers palette, the text is on a layer by itself, but its layer looks very different from any of the other layers that you're working on. This transparent layer, of course, has the checkerboard pattern on it, and whatever you've drawn. The text layer will always have a T on it. This means that what's inside of it, you won't be able to paint into it, or you won't be able to manipulate it certain ways. You can only change it by using the text tool on that particular layer. So keep in mind, if you needed to paint something, you'll need to, on top of it, you'll need to create either another layer on top of it, or work within a different layer. Or later on, I'll show you how to rasterize this layer and be able to change it up as well. So that's how the basics of using the text tool from that. Any questions about that? Very simple. Tell you what, I'll turn y'all over to working on this. I think I've gone over every question for our notes for today. This particular exercise, once you've saved them as a JPEG and save them as a TIFF, you can go to the Moodle page and you can click on January 15th exercises and be able to upload the 3 images from there. These are all due on Thursday the 17th. Alrighty.